your brain quits before you do. Not because you are weak, because it was designed to, and no amount of motivation, discipline, or self-talk will change that until you understand the mechanism behind it. Kyoto, 1743. A Zen master gives his student a single instruction: carry water from the river to the monastery. The journey is 1 hour each way. The student returns on the third day, bucket empty, defeated. He tells the master his legs gave out. The master looks at him and says, "Your legs were fine. It was the story your mind told about the legs that stopped you." Write in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is so I can get to know you better. To support the channel for free, don't forget to subscribe and like. The student did not understand this for 6 months. Then one morning, something shifted, not in his body, but in his relationship with his own thoughts. He walked the full journey. Then he walked it again, not because he became stronger, because he stopped believing the voice that told him he couldn't. That voice has a name in Zen philosophy. The mechanism behind it has been mapped by modern neuroscience, and the samurai built an entire training system around defeating it, not through force, but through something far more precise. That system is what this video reveals. Makoto, the lie your brain tells. The samurai had a virtue called Makoto, sincerity or truth. Not honesty toward others, absolute truthfulness toward oneself. A warrior trained in Makoto could distinguish between what was real and what his mind was constructing, between genuine physical limit and the story the mind invented about that limit. This distinction was not philosophical. It was tactical. A warrior who believed every thought his mind produced was already defeated before the battle began. The brain generates quitting thoughts the way the body generates sweat, automatically, reflexively, as a protective mechanism. Ancient Zen teachers called this internal voice the monkey mind. Tsuruwaka, restless, loud, convinced of its own authority, the samurai did not try to silence Tsuruwaka. He trained himself to hear it clearly and then evaluated dispassionately. Is this real or is this construction? Today, the next time you feel like stopping, ask precisely that. Not, can I continue? But is this thought true? Mushin, beyond the quitting thought, Mushin, no mind, is the state Zen and Samurai training was ultimately designed to produce. Not the absence of thought, but the absence of attachment to thought. In Mushin, the warrior acts without the interference of the evaluating, narrating, self-protecting mind. The sword moves. The body moves. The quitting thought arises and passes through without finding purchase, like wind through an open gate. This is not mysticism. It is a description of what happens neurologically when a trained practitioner moves past the prefrontal cortex's threat assessment and into procedural, automatic action. The brain's resistance mechanism requires conscious engagement to take hold. Mushin withdraws that engagement. The warrior who has practiced 10,000 repetitions of a kata does not think about the kata. He becomes it. The quitting thought has no self to attach to. Today's application. Choose one repeating task you consistently abandon. Practice it daily for 30 days without evaluation. No judgment of quality, no assessment of progress, pure shu, pure repetition. You are not building skill. You are dissolving the evaluator. Gaman, endurance as philosophy. There is a Japanese cultural concept so deeply embedded that most Japanese people do not recognize it as philosophy. They simply live it. Gaman, enduring the seemingly unbearable with patience and dignity. Not stoic suppression, not gritted teeth. A kind of serene, clear-eyed persistence that accepts difficulty as the natural texture of meaningful activity rather than as evidence that something has gone wrong. Western productivity culture treats discomfort as a signal. If it hurts, adjust, optimize, find an easier path. Gaman operates on a completely different premise. Discomfort is not a warning. It is the price of entry. The samurai who trained for years in cold hunger and exhaustion was not being punished. He was being educated, taught to distinguish between the body's genuine limits and the mind's generous estimation of where those limits lie. In practice, reframe the sensation of difficulty. When your brain begins generating quitting signals, instead of asking, "How do I make this easier?" ask, "What is this teaching me about my actual threshold?" The discomfort is the curriculum, the default mode network. Modern neuroscience has identified the brain region most responsible for quitting. The default mode network, a set of interconnected regions that activate during self-referential thought. When you are working, the task network is dominant. The moment your focus wavers, the default mode network activates, and it immediately begins generating self-focused narrative. How you feel, how hard this is, how long you've been at it, whether it's worth continuing. The samurai observed this mechanism centuries before fMRI existed. They called the self-focused mental state Jiko-Ego awareness and considered it the primary obstacle to peak performance. Every Zen practice, every kata, every period of Zazen was designed to suppress Jiko and extend the window of task-absorbed action. Research by neuroscientist Matthew Killingsworth confirms that mind-wandering default mode activation correlates directly with unhappiness and task abandonment. The brain that wanders to self-assessment is the brain that quits. The practice, when you notice your mind shifting from task to self, return to the physical sensation of the action itself. Feel your hands, your breath, the texture of the work. This is not mindfulness as relaxation. It is Jiko suppression as performance tool. Kokoro, the unified self. In Japanese philosophy, Kokoro refers to the integration of heart, mind, and spirit, not as three separate faculties, but as one unified field of experience. When Kokoro is whole, thought and action move together without friction. When Kokoro is fragmented, when the mind argues with the body, when the heart resists what the intellect has decided, the quitting thought finds the gap and moves in. Most people experience this fragmentation constantly. Part of them wants to continue. Part of them wants to stop. The internal argument consumes more energy than the task itself. The samurai called this division Niju Kokoro the double heart and considered it the most exhausting state a warrior could inhabit. The resolution is not to silence one voice. It is to make a decision so complete that the argument ends before it begins. Before any significant task, commit fully, out loud or in writing, to a specific endpoint. Not, "I will work on this for a while. I will work on this until this specific thing is done." Kokoro unification requires a clear finish line. Give the whole self something to move toward together. Zazen and the quitting reflex. Zazen, seated Zen meditation, was not a relaxation practice for the samurai. It was combat training for the mind. Specifically, it was training in one skill above all others, the ability to remain with discomfort without acting on the impulse to escape it. Every minute of Zazen is at its core a repetition of the same fundamental choice. The craving to move, to stop, to adjust arises, and the practitioner chooses not to obey it. This is the direct neurological training of the quit reflex. Each time the impulse to stop arises and is not followed, the neural pathway connecting discomfort to escape behavior weakens slightly. Over hundreds of sessions, the automatic equation, discomfort equals quit, loses its authority. The brain learns at a cellular level that discomfort can be experienced without being obeyed. Modern research on interoceptive awareness confirms that practitioners who regularly observe bodily sensations without reacting to them develop measurably higher distress tolerance across all domains of life. Today, sit still for 10 minutes, do nothing. When discomfort arises, observe it precisely. Locate it in the body. Note its quality without moving. That is the entire practice. The comfort trap. The modern world has made quitting not only easy but comfortable, and that comfort is the most sophisticated obstacle the ancient philosophy never had to face. In the samurai's world, stopping meant cold, hunger, or death. The environment itself enforced continuation. Today, stopping means warmth, entertainment, and instant relief. The gap between continuing and quitting has never been narrower or more pleasant to fall into. This is what the Zen masters would recognize immediately as the trap of Raku, ease comfort, the seductive softness that the undisciplined mind seeks at the first sign of friction. Raku is not laziness. It is the rational preference of a nervous system that has been trained by 1,000 small surrenders to expect relief the moment difficulty appears. The samurai response was environmental design. Remove the comfort option from arm's reach. Work in a space stripped of easy escape. No phone nearby. No entertainment accessible. No comfortable alternative available. The brain that cannot easily quit will, after a period of resistance, return to the work. Willpower is finite. Architecture is permanent. Hara, the body knows before the mind decides. In Japanese tradition, Hara, the lower abdomen, roughly the center of gravity, was considered the seat of courage, decision, and enduring strength. Not the mind, not the heart, the body's center. A warrior who had developed Hara could act from a place beneath conscious deliberation, from a physical steadiness that the mind's quitting narrative could not reach. This is not metaphor. Research in embodied cognition demonstrates that physical posture, breathing pattern, and core engagement directly influence cognitive performance and persistence. A collapsed posture signals defeat to the nervous system before the mind has consciously decided to quit. An upright, grounded posture, Hara engaged, maintains a neurological state of readiness that extends performance windows measurably. When your brain begins generating quit signals before you respond to the thought, check the body. Are you collapsed? Breathing shallow? Shoulders forward? Correct the posture first. Engage the core. Breathe from the Hara. The thought often resolves on its own because the body it was narrating has changed. The 5-breath reset. The philosophy is complete. Now the practice, specific, physical, usable today. When the quitting thought arrives at full force, and it will, do not engage it intellectually. Do not argue with it, negotiate with it, or try to motivate your way past it. Do this instead. Stop. Take 5 slow breaths, counting each one. On each breath, feel the Hara. On the 5th breath, return to the single, next physical action of the task, not the whole task, not the outcome, the next physical action only. This sequence works because it interrupts the default mode network's self-narrative before it gains momentum, reestablishes physical groundedness through breath and Hara awareness, and redirects attention to the immediate rather than the overwhelming. It takes approximately 90 seconds. The samurai performed versions of this pre-action ritual before every significant effort, not because they were afraid, but because they understood that the prepared mind and the unprepared mind are two different instruments entirely. Practice this today, not when you need it, before you need it, so that when the quitting thought arrives with full force, the sequence is already in the body. The brain is not the enemy. Here is the final truth, the one that changes everything. Your brain is not trying to sabotage you. It is trying to protect you. Every quitting thought is a protective signal from a system that evolved to conserve energy, avoid injury, and keep you alive. The brain that quits is not your enemy. It is a loyal guardian that has not yet been shown what you are capable of. The samurai did not fight the mind. He educated it through repetition, through ritual, through the patient accumulation of evidence that the discomfort could be survived. He taught his nervous system a new truth. Not that quitting is wrong, that continuing is possible. And possible, practiced long enough, becomes natural. Natural, practiced long enough, becomes who you are. You are not at war with your brain. You are in a long, patient conversation with it, showing it, one completed effort at a time, that it underestimated you. Keep showing it. Every time you continue past the quitting thought, you are not just finishing a task. You are rewriting the story your brain tells about what you can do. Asu, your brain quits before you do. But only until you show it, repeatedly, that it was wrong. Today, one action. The next time you feel like stopping something that matters, use the 5-breath reset. Stop, 5 breaths. Hara, one next physical action. That is all. Not a new system. One practice, used once today. If this shifted something in you, subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me what your brain tells you when it wants you to quit. This community is a dojo. Every warrior here is having the same conversation with their mind. Osu.